Sheriff Wayne Ivey, thank you for having Space Coast Daily here today to discuss the proposed bill. As you know, in America now, the medicinal use of marijuana is legal in 20 states, and the voters in Florida on November 4th will make that choice. What's your perspective on this?
You know, my position is this. I personally, as a person and as a veteran of law enforcement for 34, almost 35 years, I oppose this piece of this amendment, the Second Amendment, Florida Second Amendment, in the regard that when you look at this law as it is written, it gives no control measures. It gives no abilities for not only law enforcement to put control measures in place, but Department of Health and everyone else. So what I'm asking everyone to do is I would never be so bold as to tell someone how they should vote. What I'm really asking our citizens to do is search for the bill, look for the law as it is written, research it, understand every piece of it, and then make their own minds up about if this is something they really want to vote for and have happening in our state. I think once people familiarize themselves with it, I think once they see where a 13-year-old can walk into a doctor's shop, as it will be called, and get a prescription. It's actually not even a prescription, it's a recommendation by a physician to get medical marijuana. That 13-year-old won't have to have parental permission. They don't necessarily have to have some type of acute illness that is bothering them. For example, the language of the law says that a physician's opinion of the medical marijuana being needed outweighs the health benefits of the patient, then they can issue it. So really what that does is open the door that a physician can say, you have bad headaches, so I think you need this. And so, you know, much like we saw with the pill mills that popped up, you'll see a doctor shop and you'll see a dispensary that will pop up right next door to it or in close proximity, and the two will be working to funnel as many patients through as they possibly can.
And Sheriff, you know, no one's demonstrated more commitment to our community than you have, and you care so much for the people here. So really people need to understand the ramifications of this bill. You support children with seizures being able to get help, of course, but what you're concerned about is the ramifications of this particular bill.
Exactly, and you know, when you look at it, our legislators, our lawmakers in Tallahassee just passed through both the House and the Senate a bill that talks about Charlotte's Web, which Charlotte's Web is a form of medical marijuana, if you will. It's injectable. And it helps treat kids that have seizures. It helps treat adults that have seizures. In fact, it's been proven to be very effective in that. I would stand on the steps of the Capitol and applaud them for approving that and letting that become law in that form. What I have trouble with is this law as it is written. It has no ability to have control measures in place. And so that's why I just think it's so important for our citizens to familiarize and educate themselves on the merits of this law, and then be able to make an objective vote when they go on November 4th to do that.
Sure. You mentioned earlier something about what people need to understand is if they work in federal jobs, in the government, the school system. Tell us about the ramifications relating to the bill with that.
Well, even if the language was to be accepted in and voted in as law, it still, there is a federal law that prohibits marijuana possession and marijuana use. And so people that are in government jobs and working in the Space Center or working in education areas, they will still have that as a barrier. So they go and get a medical marijuana prescription, but their job still would not allow them to do it because it's a federal crime. And so there are a whole lot of mechanisms at work here in this. And you know, if it's something that the citizens of the state of Florida want to do, my recommendation is let's let our lawmakers legislate it, get the right experts involved in it, and let them take it forward. But in the law as it is written right now, I think our citizens have to be very careful not to vote for something that is being sold to help people that are suffering, because every one of us, we are all compassionate. We want to help someone that has a condition, and if this is something that would do it, then we all want to do that. But we just got to be careful not to react. We need to respond to that, and sure. To me, this law is a reaction to it.
Well, you know, Florida oftentimes is a swing state in the country, and with 20 states now, you know, approving the medicinal use of marijuana, and Florida is soon to become the third largest populous state in the U.S. You know, I understand that there's 67 sheriff's departments, and those law enforcement people oppose this bill, don't they?
Yeah, and every one of us is on the same sheet of music. We oppose the law as it is written, and as I said, I think most every sheriff would stand on the steps of the Capitol and applaud the Charlotte's Web side of this. But we are deeply concerned about this law as it is written, about the things that it would allow. The language that's in this law is what is so dangerous, that it gives no control measures. And so that's what we're really focused on. And 63 of the 67 sheriffs have come out and said we absolutely oppose this law as it is written. The other 4 either weren't involved in the process, weren't there, or abstained from it. But 63 of the 67 have come out very vocally.
Sure. And so if this bill is passed November 4th, I believe it takes 60% of the Florida voters to get approval. How do you think people's lives in Brevard County would be affected? What changes would they see?
You know, the first thing you'll see is the doctor's office or the doctor shop that'll spring up. There'll be a dispensary next door. It's not really a pharmacy because there's not a prescription involved in this, and that's another important component of this. Without a prescription, there's no way to evaluate how much they're allowed to have, when refills are done, anything. It's a doctor's recommendation that they can have it. You'll see that'll be the first change you'll see. You'll see those 2 facilities that'll pop up. You'll see people that are smoking medical marijuana in open public places, walking down the street and everything else. And so I think the average citizen is going to be taken a little bit aback by that. You know, and I realize, I mean, I see the statistics. I see there are a lot of people out there that on face value think this is the right direction to go. There's some other polling out there that says once people have gone in and read the bill or read the language of this law, they almost 67% of them would vote against it once they've educated themselves on it.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think it will affect your deputies' ability to uphold the law in the community? What challenges will that present your folks with?
Well, the first thing is, you know, in Los Angeles, for example, they've seen an increase in the crime rate since they went that direction with the medical marijuana. Colorado is experiencing the same thing. So we anticipate that we'll see that increase in the crime rate. The other thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration is the expense of medical marijuana, that when you're buying it from the dispensary. And a lot of people aren't going to be able to afford that because the law doesn't give the ability for insurance to cover this. So it's going to be out of pocket is what people will be looking at. Well, when they can't get it there, where are they going to turn to? When they can't afford it on the dispensary, they're going to turn back to the street, and that's also going to drive the street values up too. So we see it creating a whole different game for us, if you will, of activity.
Mm-hmm. And looking at the the conversation between the House and the Senate when they were getting this bill ready, many of the lawmakers were concerned that this move with this bill could be the rifle shot that sets off the avalanche for further allowance of marijuana, on a recreational basis. What are your thoughts on that?
There are a lot of people out there that think this law is simply a move to completely legalize marijuana in the state of Florida, to make it completely legal, medical or otherwise, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think this is a shot across the bow to see if that's a possibility. And it's a shame too, because it could adversely affect the good sides of this with the application of something like Charlotte's Web. And I would never begrudge someone that needs medical help or that could benefit from something good, but we just have to be careful in how we take that step.
Mm-hmm. And Sheriff, any other message you'd like to tell the folks out there? I have a very large readership here with Space Coast Daily, and are there any other things you'd like to let them know about, to think about before they vote November 4th?
I tell everybody this, go Google search or use a search engine for crime, and look at what's happening in some of the other states that have offered up. For example, 15 of the 20 states that have gone this direction have the highest rate of traffic accidents when a driver is under the influence. 15 of the 20 have it. You've seen, I think it's 114% increase in traffic accidents in the state of Colorado with marijuana involved as the factor in the traffic accident. And what's really ironic is when you look at the state of Colorado, their number of traffic fatalities has decreased, but yet that number has gone up by 114%. With marijuana being the indicator of what happened. So go get on some search engines, start looking at all of it, really research the merits of the bill, and then go vote your heart on November 4th.
And if any Brevardians would like more information from the Sheriff's Department, who should they contact here, and how do they reach you?
They can always reach me. They can get me at sheriff@bcso.us, or they can call and talk to me. Again, I would never be so bold to tell our citizens how they should vote. I just want them to really research this and then vote their heart come November 4th.
Thank you very much, Sheriff.
Thank you.